8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, welcome to Andy Decodes the 12th Dimension. Hello to Laura. Thank you again for coming on. I know it's all a bit Russian here, there, and everywhere, but thank you.
You're here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. Right. So we're just doing the 45 minutes tonight because you've got a lot on. So we'll
45
just go
minutes.
straight.
Yeah.
So we won't.
Yeah.
We won't do a break. We'll just go straight through to the end and then go from there. But you have said you're going to come back on once you've done your visit down to England and Wiltshire and all that. So we're going to do part 3 towards the end of summer.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Yes.
I look forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Right. So can I ask the first question? So it's been intriguing me since you mentioned it. So when you met the guy and he pretty much said to you, do you want to go to Mars? Yeah. What was the means of transport if you was to go? So was it a physical travel, or was it like a projection, like astral?
I mean, the discussion was that it was physical. They called the means of transport ARCs, ARC, which might have been an acronym. I was not really wanting to go, so I didn't inquire too much. I'd heard about later on jump rooms, Andrew Bishago, Project Pegasus, which supposedly is a real way to get there in a little amount of time. I would guess wormholes, which is I believe what he was telling us. And and some kind of elevator thing, and it must have gone through some kind of Stargate or wormhole in order to get there so quickly. And the conversations that I overheard had to do with terraforming Mars, had to do with Mars colonies. And then when I met Andrew Bishago, he helped me to kind of understand more than likely where they would have taken us. He seemed to be very familiar with the term ARC being some kind of craft. I don't know how quickly it would have gotten there, like the jump rooms. But I didn't overly inquire because I was more like, I'm just not doing it. And I wasn't, and I hadn't heard of all these other different means of transport. So I just figured, okay, is it going to be like some sort of, craft, something that would take a while? I had too many other questions, and I was just completely in overwhelm. And it began to make sense later on, not when he first talked about this. And it was more than just an invite. like I said, he was sent to bring me in, and they weren't really going to take no for an answer. So yeah, it was really bizarre.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, cool. No, I've just been thinking about it since the first time you come on, and it's like I never got to ask you what, like, the way how it was all gonna take place, sort of thing. So no, thank you for that. Is there anything you want to cover? Any particular subject?
I am open for anything that you want to talk about. Yeah, there's so much to cover. I think somebody mentioned alchemy, maybe Nicola.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring that up. Are you able to give us some more information on that?
Well, there's soul alchemy, which I think is really where it's at. There's the kind of alchemy that one can create, I guess, in a lab, turning lead into gold. But then there's soul alchemy, which is a lot of what I focus on. And soul alchemy is our capacity to upgrade ourselves and shift our sort of DNA and connect to higher dimensional energies. And in order to do that, we have to kind of break through frequency fences and seals. And so it's kind of an alchemical process. If you look at just things like nanoparticles and just all that we've inhaled, all the bioweapons, everything that we're sort of up against to kind of keep us sort of dumbed down. It's sort of an alchemical process utilizing the element ether, not utilizing it, but integrating that, right? So if we're going to create alchemy within ourselves, we need that elemental that is the great purifier that can help to decontaminate the elementals, which are connected to the nucleic acids of our DNA. And we're elemental beings: earth, air, fire, water, ether. And now that the ether is more available, the Venus transits have been a part of that correction, turning the inversions upright on a cosmic level, so that, and an earthly level. So that, in a sense, is a part of what we can align with in the trajectory that we can be on to achieve a certain level of transformation and soul alchemy. And I can get into it a little bit more, but
So I was just going to say, is it like, I might be wrong here, but is it like a cleansing process for the body? Well, for the soul.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely like a purification process. And it's shifting the soul matrix. We've been very much in the personality matrix. And in being in that vibration, we are very easily manipulated and controlled. So, like, for example, like the Grail has been identified with alchemy. It's the science of concentrating vital currents and life forces. In the time of the Catholic Inquisition, alchemists were careful to veil their art. They said it was to turn base metals into gold. But in philosophical and metaphysical terms, the alchemists were more concerned with transformation of the worldly person, led into a spiritually illuminated person, gold. So Peter Farley, from Where You Were Before the Tree of Life, I got that quote, and I just found, yes, that's a good way to kind of put more terminology or more of an explanation behind what you just said. Because, we need to transform it. It's not just going to be through detoxing. It's going to be through a vibrational shift, more connection to the soul matrix, more of a spiritualized person, but not based in like a religion, but based in more of our own spiritual awakening, connected to being sovereign, connected to Mother Earth, connected to the multidimensional. And for us to really purify and be on a soul level, we have to move out of the negative ego, out of the conquer and divide, out of where that can keep us sort of looping in these negative patterns. And we need to integrate our ego, not lose our ego, but integrate it with the spirit realms and the soul realms in order for that part of us to be transformed. So the ego is not operating from sort of a wounded or groomed kind of place or a subpersonality that's a programming or something that's been taught to us or something that we're just kind of running an autopilot because of how we react to the world around us. We're not very encouraged in our school systems to be soul-centered. It's something that we have to be willing to connect with. We might have soul-centered parents, but a lot of people don't. And when we go to school, we have to sit there and consent and comply, or we're projected upon as having some attention deficit.
Some sort of disorder.
So I think it's just a deeper journey that we find on our own path when we go through the dark night of the soul and we have to face like our inner demons or our hidden treasures that might have been repressed. we're really able to transform and step into way more of who we are. And I feel that that is a bit of an alchemical shift, just like the global awakening and how that can change the trajectory of the human race more on an organic ascension timeline versus an artificial timeline that's trying to keep us in this lower personality addiction matrix that isn't very soul-centered unless we seek to know ourselves more and get on a deeper level. And sometimes we get there and sometimes we lose our space with it. But it's a constant process with these planetary alignments that are supporting us, this greater kind of alchemy that works very much with the Plutonic energy, Pluto, death, rebirth, alchemy, transformation. That's what Pluto rules. So in all these Plutonic cycles, there's always a weaponized version that's trying to keep us in fear of death or keep us in fear of transformation and the fullness of all that we are. That's why all these fear tactics are cast upon humanity to stunt our growth, when all this is encoded in our DNA to discover and in the planetary alignments that are encouraging our growth. But these inverted programs and matrix energies are trying to keep us small so that they can hold the power over us. That's what I mean.
So in a way, I suppose we've got to make a shift from this modern day lifestyle that we've got and go back to, I suppose, the good old days before all the technology and everything else was coming about and the more natural stuff that was going on.
Yeah. I mean, the tech stuff has always been there, but not available to humans as much, right? SSP, secret space programs, and technology deals started in the 1930s. There's always been like hidden technology and the mind control and the geoengineering kind of technologies. But as humans have more access to technology like internet and our devices and more technologies coming in as solutions to all our problems that might be coming from this negative agenda that wants to kind of solve the problem with transhumanism, with technology that wouldn't be balancing our spiritual energies. And that was kind of how the fall of Atlantis took place. And with the Lemurian Holocaust and the Atlantean cataclysms, the dark world was really because of too much emphasis on technology and human advancement without spiritual development. So spiritual development got a bit hijacked with a lot of manipulated teachings and religions, when the original teaching is pretty much connected to people like the Essenes and groups like that. And, you know, some of the indigenous cultures and, you know, some of the great sort of teachers and masters that we don't really hear about much anymore.
No.
And those in high positions as like priestesses or high priests, maybe connected more to like the lost civilization of Mu or the Melchizedek, and not the fallen ones, but the ones that were really holding a strong position. And the two Christ teachings were very much about becoming a Christed being, doing the inner work. And so when that kind of got lost to us, and there was a lot of massacres and the wiping out of these ancient, you know, teachings, because we're born with amnesia, we kind of lost that unless we seek it, unless we really dig deep, unless we, you know, look at some of the unaltered texts and some of the Keylontic science or our galactic history, kind of showing, you know, what kind of happened, why we've lost contact with that. You know, we can kind of get that back, but we kind of need to right now as people are looking maybe for those quick fixes. And we, you know, can totally utilize technology, but not at the cost of our spiritual development, or else we can easily get assimilated into AI, right? There's always those harmonious technologies that can work with our DNA advancement and are connected with nature that we see in some more advanced cultures, you know, but we have to kind of understand how that all got lost to us and why and what happened. And, you know, a lot of it's the invasion of factions of the Anunnaki and how the 13 families or the covert deep state sort of went kind of underground, started manipulating things behind the scenes that most people are taking a while to see and understand. Finally, it's coming more to light. But yeah, we don't want to be duped by some of these more, you know, advanced technologies that'll be handed to us, but we have to have discernment. Where is it coming from? And, you know, is it impacting our ability to really grow? And, you know, we have enough indoctrination as it is and enough people buying into a lot of this stuff. So when possible disclosure happens, some releasing of certain technologies, we have to just make sure it's coming from the right source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I ask you, what, in your opinion, what do you think would be the best way for us to reconnect to our spirituality?
I think really being, in nature, really honest with ourselves, not shying away from doing the greater inner work. And I know that kind of, it's like we all have to face that when we're processing. We go into kind of a dark night of the soul, but we have to hold space for that. A lot of people get afraid of it, or they think something's terribly wrong with them if they feel the energy of like loss or some kind of upheaval in their life. They might misunderstand for misfortune or become fear-based. We can become a lot more spiritual if we can sort of see the bigger picture. Understanding our astrology really helps, I feel. Some people might think, if they have religious programming, stay away from it. But it's all about developing self-knowledge, or else we're very much on autopilot, or we're just reacting to things. But if we really understand ourselves, we can understand the greater initiations that are helping us to connect with our higher mind, connect with our soul, connect with Mother Earth, understand where the ancestral patterns or programmings are impacting us, where it's not helping us. Because if our physical health is suffering, it might be because we're operating under a program that our body is not in sync with. It might also mean that we're moving through an energy that is going to temporarily bring about symptoms as we purge and clear things, right? So we want to hold more space for it so it doesn't get internalized. It doesn't get stuck in our bodies, which are energy blocks. We want to make sure to express ourselves, through music and art and just ways to just get things out of our system so that we're not just receiving things from the outside. So I think connecting with nature, being very willing to take the time and space you need to move through these greater initiations and have a greater understanding of them. Because when we misunderstand them, it sort of stunts our growth. I think the Great Awakening is very much a spiritual awakening. It's also understanding what the manipulations have been, what the programmings have been, what has been hijacking us, because we're naturally all spiritual beings. It's not like, it has to come from the New Agers. It doesn't have to come from, any outside teaching. It's a very personal and sacred thing. The reason I think astrology can help, it's not the end all be all for everyone, is if you find yourself in autopilot, if you find yourself struggling, it really helps to know what the patterning is. And like say you have a Pluto transit moving through your, 6th house or 7th house, and you can't quite understand, why something is like leaving your life or why you're wanting to let go of something. It's just helpful to know where it's showing up so that we can embrace it more instead of fear it. Right. And so I think that helps us to be more soul connected. Uranus helps with the activations to connect us more with our higher mind and our intuition, right? If we're just constantly answering to outside information, how are we functioning with our higher mind? How are we thinking for ourselves? How are we free thinkers? How are we navigating this life experience coming from intuition, trusting our gut, feeling into things, embracing our sensitivities, not trying to, get rid of it or judge it, right? We're elemental. Some have more water, some have more fire, some have more earth, but we're here to help switch each other on to restore the 12-strand DNA tree of life template. So more unity, more getting into the vibration of mutual love and respect, regardless of our differences, making sure that we're not in the divide and conquer, negative ego, lack of self-love. So I think all that helps us to be more clear, more aware, more mindful as we co-create. And in being more mindful, we can have greater integrity and compassion as well. And, see how people are struggling and work on getting out of our own struggles so that we can lend a helping hand and be more of service to others. Right.
But it's like,
and Mother Nature always, I find. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's like understanding on how to process it as an individual, as well as a group.
Yeah, right. And I think, when we find a sense of sovereignty or self-awareness, it's easier to be in a group. Whereas if you're in a group and you're kind of unconscious, you might just not really think for yourself. You want to find a group that appreciates you as an individual and vice versa. Because there's still a lot of groups operating under from, I'm the teacher, I'm the guru, follow my way, follow my narrative. And I think the more we know ourselves and the more we work on ourselves, and the stronger we are, and the more we live our truth, the more we can see through distortions and deceptions. And then when we enter those places, we can raise our hand and say, wait a second, that doesn't resonate. Do they listen to you or do they shut you down? That might not be the right group for you. But if you're around individuals that embrace your individuality while also understanding the common thread of being unified and being connected spiritually. Because to me, oneness is diversity and harmony, but we have to kind of know ourselves as a prerequisite for really being able to participate in community without it sort of maybe, I mean, we can learn a lot, but we want that discernment first. Cause I think a lot of people are recovering from groups and communities and even cults that they feel later duped by, or they invested a lot of their time or money. And so I think, the more we know ourselves first and do that work, the more we can navigate this experience a lot better. And we don't have to brand anybody as the enemy, but we can at least watch ourselves. They might be running a program. They might have an altar, and they might be groomed to play a particular role. There's a lot of people like that out there. So without having a strong foundation in our truth, it's very easy to fall prey to people that are taking advantage of that without even realizing it, perhaps.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's knowing, like you said like it's knowing where you fit in, and how you fit, and what piece you play in that group.
Totally. Yeah. And do you have the freedom to, express? I mean, I think it's great when people like have a Telegram channel and you can write comments, you can share links, you can share your thoughts. Even though it's got a lot of bots and weirdness. But I mean, I just think it's time to open up to a greater dialogue. Everybody's got a divine purpose. Everybody has something that they can lead by example in their life. They might not feel like, okay, I want to grab the microphone and be out there, but they might be taking a stand in their own world, changing their lifestyle, maybe being more vocal in the school systems, or not complying or consenting, and just, being a strong person in their own right and in their own life. But yeah, I think once you're solid with who you are, you're going to gravitate towards like-minded people, people who are into the same thing as you. And then once everybody kind of gets to know each other, it's sort of like the skill sets can be harmonized and blended, right? Because everybody's going to have where they feel, like you said, a comfort zone. And that might change over time. But like, it's like if a community comes together living on land, it's just kind of how we find our career. Some people are going to want to work more with numbers, others maybe being the gardener, one being more the medicine person, maybe somebody doing a little bit of all of it. But the more we know ourselves, the more we can at least say, hey, this is what I have to contribute. It's like you and I, we do shows. So, we have like our bios or the themes that we like to bring to the table. So we invite like-minded people, or people that we can have a healthy debate with.
Totally get what you're saying. So,
So, I mean, for us to be able to make it in these times, as a lot of people are exiting the matrix, realizing that whatever degree they got, they might not have a lot of freedom of expression. They might have to consent. They might lose that paycheck. That's really where I think what we're talking about really counts, because the more you know yourself, the more, you'll probably not be willing to compromise. You'll see a much larger picture, and that the universe, or greater universal forces, and your own higher awareness, your ability to manifest and connect with greater synchronicities from a higher dimensional kind of thinking, out of fear, out of survival, can begin to walk away from those things and know that something's there to catch you. Like I lived on the road a lot. I raised my kids. Anytime I was in a lower sort of mentality about it, or a judgment or self-criticism to myself, it didn't help with anything. It just riled me up and attracted not the most positive influences,
negative energies.
And once I dropped that and changed my perspective, I was pulling money out of the ground. I was running into cool people, and everything changed because I embraced my position and why I was in the position, without the societal stigmas of what that looks like. Oh, you're homeless, or, oh, you're living out of a vehicle right now. That it's like, no, I'm on an adventure and I'm in transition, and I can define this for myself. So we have to be very careful of projections, judgments, worrying about what other people think, and taking these kind of risks so we don't consent and comply and be used for our abilities at the expense of other people's health and well-being. Because we see what's happening in the medical industry and in the school systems now. It's at an all-time peak of terrible. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're all right. But I was just going to say, it helps when you've got the right mindset as well with what's going on and what you're doing. I think that makes a big difference. Big difference.
It does. We have access to the creative imagination and a big, a large amount of possible perspectives that we can choose, and we have the freedom to choose whatever that is. We can reach into visions and dreams and what some might deem impossible. If we're consistent enough with it and we speak it and we embody it and it becomes a way of being, why wouldn't we be able to manifest it? You know, if we're constantly in self-doubt and we're not consistent with it, it might come and go, or we might feel, okay, it's impossible. I can't do this. Well, how consistent are you being? Because the magician archetype is very much Mercury. It's our voice. If we're in the Mercury magician energy, we're great manifestors. We speak reality into manifestation. If our thoughts, though, and our words are just spewing mind viruses or different fears or lower level mind energies, mental energies of the monkey mind or survival or this and that, we enable the very things we don't want to see because we're energetically corded or attached to it somehow, that we're enabling it or participating in it. So we got to cut the cords. We got to choose perception and define it more on our own terms, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody or hurt, you know, it's like, it's really about understanding what we're truly made of. We're only functioning from very limited DNA, only a small portion of our brains. Where's the curiosity to discover that more? And it's like, I think we talked about this last time, and I know it's a little redundant, but if a doctor says you'll never be able to walk again and you only have 3 months to live, what about the people that defied that and absolutely were able to walk again and live years? Because that person took it into their own hands, maybe with the help of somebody else, but said, wait a second, I don't need to own that. I don't need to give you my belief systems. I might work with that and realize, okay, that is a potential if I don't figure out something different, a change in lifestyle, a change in diet, a change in belief systems, a change in perception, which has everything to do with the health of our body. If we're limited to how others define it outside of us, I think we rob ourselves of our great potential, which is what this awakening is all about. We're only functioning in like 3 strands of DNA, 2 strands, 4 strands. We have like a potential of 12 strands and beyond. Now, our physical might not be able to embody that right away, but our consciousness can reach into it and begin to integrate it. And that's really what I feel we're being pushed to the wall and pushed to the edge so that we discover this. And we shouldn't feel so victimized, even though it's understandable. But if we're being pushed to the edge and we're being betrayed by our leaders and a lot of these infiltrated power structures, I think it's pointing us in the direction of, okay, it's time to fall back on ourselves. It's time to let go of that system and being dependent on it. It's time to realize that we're made of so much more, and the abundance of the earth and the fact that it's ascension planet and what are the reasons why it is. It's not just some fluffy concept. You know, we can really get on board with a whole nother trajectory. No,
I was just thinking, I'm guessing you've read the book The Secret. It's about
I didn't read the book. I saw I know the story. I saw the movie and I skimmed through. I
read the book. It was about 12, 15 years ago, and it's always stuck with me. It's pretty much whatever you give into the universe, you get back tenfold. But you have to be positive and say, it's not, I want this, I want that. This is mine. This belongs to me. This is what I'm having. And the more positive you are, the more that you're going to get back from doing that. And to me, that's the spiritual side of it, I think.
Definitely. And the positivity isn't like the polarity of positive and negative. It's having confidence in yourself, right?
Believing in yourself. It's a confidence.
Which is positive.
The confidence you use with the thought process.
Totally. I totally agree. It's like, and the more we can stay consistent with that, the better. And, trusting of the timing too, maybe with some of those manifestations in that movie, it's not going to happen as quickly for people, but it could. I mean, I think we've all seen this happen in our lives. And how do we lose our space, right? There's a lot of interference. There's a lot of targeting. There's a lot of, very difficult things to witness. If we're very empathic, or if we're, just strong advocates for just everything that matters. I mean, we have to utilize what you're sharing with how we navigate these times, especially because we want to be a force of, guidance and leading by inspiration. Because I think a lot of people just forget that they're capable of manifesting a completely different reality for themselves, and that we have the override frequency. They're working on a very low level. That's why the dark technologies throw people in a low mentality where everybody's arguing with each other. Everybody's offended, all this political correctness. And it's like, how can we possibly manifest if we're in these lower vibrations. We're only manifesting more of what we don't want to see, because when we're out of balance, when we're in our negative ego, or just taking everything so personally and being in victim consciousness, dark entities really like to feed on that. When we're empowered, when we're like whole, when we, you know, like protect ourselves more and override all of that, and just, we can manifest something completely different as long as we're hooked into those kind of, you know, energies. To me, that's the most detrimental part of any of this dark weaponry, is the social engineering and the mind control aspect. Once we break through that, that's where I feel the alchemy is possible, because you're no longer bound to the lower level dimensional energies that are very much the 3D, the personality matrix, the addiction matrix, everything that they can sort of like, you know, project and sort of manipulate or push buttons in order to create a sort of dynamic amongst us all being pit against each other. When, why there's so much talk about unity consciousness during this time? Doesn't mean we all have to think the same, but isn't that not very, very targeted? Also sacred union relationships, also self-love, self-empowerment, and being powerful co-creators. This is everything about what we're waking up to. And the amount of hijacking they have in order for us to kind of forget that, you know, it's unbelievable. Now, some wouldn't be very conscious of what this window period's about. That's why it's like they can completely accept that, oh, we're just going to have nothing but viruses for the rest of, you know, our futures. And that, you know, we should accept our kids being confused about something that, you know, is being cast upon them without guiding them and helping them have that self-discovery, regardless of what physical body they're born into. I mean, so the ones that weren't really privy to the importance of these times are probably easier prey. And the amount of projections on that as well, oh, that's all new agey, that's all crazy, to the point where they agree with censorship. And that's not just people that are truthers or exposing hidden agendas. It's also people that, are encouraging a greater growth and development. But again, one has to be just, I guess, careful with their terminology. But you can't bring on an empowered doctor who's standing up without either getting banned or noticing how targeted they are. I mean, Dr. Buttar just passed. So I got to be careful what I share here. But I'm just pointing out things. That's all. I'll be careful what I say. But
no, it's all good. It's cool. Honestly, don't worry about it. Right, we have got a couple of questions going off topic. Is that okay? It's just that we're on 35 minutes, so I'm just thinking the time that we've got left. That was all. Right, so this one is from Alien Woods. They want to know, does Laura know if the colour of the alien eyes, etc., have significance in their alignment? Good, bad, etc., red, white, black, yellow, etc.
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's good and bad in every sort of race. Even blue-eyed, so-called benevolent-looking Nordics aren't necessarily positive, but it depends. Different beings have different agendas, very much that are about themselves, and some aren't. Some are more looking out for humanity and wanting us to thrive and kind of rescue ourselves and discover, our own ET genetics and the fullness of all that we are capable of being. And when we switch on dormant DNA and higher harmonic universes in our DNA, we can more relate to these beings without them having any kind of control. As long as we play small, as long as we're dumbed down, we're very vulnerable to alien agendas, some more negative than others. Some are more about genocide, some are more about abductions, but some have agreements in order to give genetic material to a certain race to help them to rebuild their soul matrix. And that's certain agreements that some feel comfortable with and some people feel absolutely terrified by. So there's digressed races that have advanced on an intellectual level, but not on an emotional or spiritual level. And they, I believe, are trying to repair that. And they have agreements. Some have hybridization programs that I would say are more, not so much positive, and some that are more about helping create these sort of hybrids, like Bashar, who's Esasani, is like a hybrid. He seems like a very benevolent and wonderful person. So I think no matter what the appearance is, it depends on the strength of that soul and that what's occupying that vessel. Now, some races are just going to be automations. They're not really going to be, they're like EBEs or some of the grays. They're just like a worker race for Dracos. And they're not really, conscious beings.
No personality.
And then you got some that are. Like so what's that? Yeah.
I suppose like clones. Yeah.
Right. I think there's a number of different types of grays. I think it depends at what stage of the timeline they're at. We got time travel technologies and, you know, crafts that are able to travel, you know, amongst many dimensions and come in and out of this dimension that are beyond kind of the time and space limitations that we might have in this human realm. I think some people would say red eyes, you know, oh, that's, you know, dark and evil. But if you look at, I did a show with Nick Sylvester. He's talking about werewolves. They have like red eyes, but they've been weaponized and not all of them are negative. So I think outside of what things look like, there's a mixed bag within every species. There's some that have been targeted and weaponized to play kind of a dark role. And some have kind of lost their soul matrix. Some appear to be benevolent, big blue eyes, and like, you know, and they and sometimes they're holographic technologies that are cloaked Dracos, or they're Nordics that are in alliance with the Draco Alliance. And there's some that are not a part of that are benevolent Palladian or Nordic looking beings as well. So it's a tough question to answer. I think if we were to say that's good or evil, we might not give something a chance that might otherwise present itself as, okay, maybe it doesn't look like benevolent. Maybe it looks a little scary, but yeah, they're scary looking humans that are probably incredibly loving and wonderful. I mean, I don't know. That's not a very good answer, but
know the same people as me then.
What'd you say?
I said you probably know the same people as me then.
I mean, I wake up looking kind of scary in the morning, so but I'm still a loving person. But no, I'm just kidding.
No, that's.
I mean, I'm not kidding about I might sometimes, but you know what I mean. It's like
you can't just go off cycle or for a personality.
Yeah, but I do think, you know, some of the big black-eyed grays, you know, and some of the red eyes, you know, can have, you know, there might be more of them that would be linked with that, but some are genuinely trying to heal. Some are not, like clones or automations or just doing kind of violence. There's a lot of military created gray looking beings that they created in underground bases that don't have any origins as far as being extraterrestrial. So I say it's a mixed bag, and it depends on your personal feeling and relationship. You might have some sort of link from past lives. They might have a link with you. And I think every being, you know, is either on a healing trajectory or they're still playing the dark. But I think the dark is temporary. In the larger scheme of things, everything returns to source, because that's where we all emerged from. And we're in a free will kind of experience. And I think some things digress and run sort of maybe a dark role. But I think in the larger picture, everything eventually returns to source. But we need to know when to protect ourselves when something is running a malevolent service to self energy.
No, thank you. Another question. This is from Nickname. Does Laura think black alchemy creates shadow people? I'm reading the Andrew Collins book, and we always contemplate shadow beings here.
Well, black alchemy, it's not a term I often use, but I guess, you know, that would be a reversal. When we're thinking of inversion, we're thinking of shadow beings. I mean, I mean, I don't know, like like, is the being doing black alchemy that creates them as being shadow people, is Andrew saying, or something else doing this black alchemy in order to create shadow people with maybe beings that weren't shadow people previous, like it's a dark sort of, you know, how they can manipulate all sorts of beings, and I wouldn't be surprised. That's called black alchemy.
I'm guessing she means that someone or something else is doing the black alchemy to create shadow people, a bit like I forgot his name, the guy up near Scotland that was doing opening the portals and doing all the.
Well, there's Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley, that's it. I can't think of his name then. So I'm guessing that's the sort of thing that he was doing to create open these gateways and all these different cryptids, creatures, entities.
A lot of the dark rituals are all about opening these kind of portals, bringing in dark entities and demonic energies, and then attaching them to children that they are putting through ritual abuse or MK Ultra. And that could be very much because it's a form of black magic with ritual abuse, and that does have an alchemical component that would bring about some sort of, like, you know, shadow beings, dark entities, dark beings opening up, because there's a lot of disincarnate souls. There are a lot of demonic energies that they conjure up. So, but when we do shadow work, though, that's the greater alchemy, right? So, but if you are being manipulated through some sort of ritual, it would take a lot to maybe reverse that, especially if you're a shadow person with not even really physicality, but it's more in the paranormal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that sounds like a fascinating read, but yeah, I mean, Crowley is like all of that. It's most of the dark ritual abuses are based in, and he actually had a agreement with some of the world leaders connected to the negative alien agenda that in Roosevelt's administration, that he was very much a main player connected to that, even though it goes way back. He's connected to Atlantis and being a dark magician back then too. So
well, because I know that, well, apparently, I don't know, I wasn't there, but he was going like to and from the UK and the US, and he's doing all these like secret meetings with the higher power.
Ulster?
Yeah.
With the higher power?
Well, he's meeting up with like high government bodies and So, but then apparently he didn't get to finish. He was supposed to do like cast 13 different spells, but he only got to 11 or something, and then he just left it. And this is why apparently this is why a lot of this stuff came through and into our dimension. I don't know how true it is. I'm just going off what I've read and heard. So there's a lot of unclosed doors.
Yeah, I'd be very interested. Yeah, I've studied quite a bit, but I haven't. Yeah, there's always a lot more. And then when you look at how they groom or create like an antichrist too. That's all a part of that as well. And what they do in order, like there's some incredible documentaries about this, and how they kind of create this. So we see how unnatural it is and how much it takes to actually conjure this or create it and mind control a person or ritually abuse them to create this trauma-based sort of mind control and altars. It takes a lot, but think of how natural it is to just be a child and just be able to develop a strong spiritual body and soul centered connection. If there wasn't all these programmings and all this darkness that was really going out of its way to turn us down a different trajectory than what's organic and what is our divine inheritance and what's encoded in our DNA. I mean, these dark agendas, they've got to go, and they are, but we have to step away. We have to starve it in order for it to lose its power, because it's stolen power. The only power it has is what it steals, right? Because it's vampiric, it's parasitic, it's lost its connection to source. So all these tactics are how can they siphon, harvest, or as we know with what they do with children and adrenals and
No, thank you for that. Sorry, got a bit deep then, but you okay?
Oh
yeah.
What are we talking about?
All right, I thought you were shifting off somewhere else then for a moment.
Oh no, it's just I'll never get used to it, even though I've been talking about it for a really long time. Like you, I mean, I interview people. It's part of the greater discussion that we need to just be aware of and not fear it. Again, it might seem like it has a lot of power, but it really doesn't. It only has the power that we allow it to take.
And when we're
unconscious, when we're on autopilot, we don't realize it. So that's why, like we were talking about in the beginning, self-discovery, self-awareness is going to help us to see, what's trying to steal our energy, what's manipulating us out of our own truth, our own sovereignty, our own connection to our higher mind, our intuition, all of that. And then that's where the magic comes in, like the secret, where we're able to manifest. We're more confident. We've transcended something, and we've moved into a greater law of the universe, of cosmic and natural law, just the way things flow that we all have access to. It takes a little bit of work at first, perhaps, but it's right under our nose. We're creating magic all the time. We don't realize it, but maybe it's not what we want to manifest because we're not conscious of our words or our thoughts. But once we become conscious of it, our whole world can change.
I was going to say, once you realize what you're actually doing, then it just changes shape, and you're linked into what is actually going on and not what is being pushed down your throat.
Exactly. Yeah. Well put.
Yeah. Right. We are on the 45
the alchemy
minutes.
is actually, if we look at like 5D, fifth chakra, throat, the words we speak, if we're spreading mind viruses, we're not doing that greater alchemy that lifts us out of that, where our higher mind and our creative imagination we're able to give a voice to, like you said.
Yes.
And that is part of the fifth element of the purification, is to clear that chakra from speaking thought forms that have been infected in our creative channels and in our minds and in what we get from our devices or the TV or just anything outside of us. Like, so absolutely. Sorry. I know we got to go here.
No, so it's just funny you should say that, because I've literally started doing that this week. Because I work on my own, because I deliver medication. So I'll be sat in the van and there's no one else about, so it's not too embarrassing. And I'll just be saying like positive thoughts and that out loud. And it just makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel a lot more positive and confident, and like you can take on the world. That's
totally.
how it makes me feel. And it's just 10 minutes every day. And it's amazing. It really is.
Totally. Yeah. It's so important. It's like, you got to exercise it. It might be a little bit atrophied. It might be a little bit, there's a lot of people that play small or keep quiet, or they don't feel empowerment. Once you get it going, it's like, whoa, okay. Then you get kind of used to it. It becomes a daily thing. And the thing is, the thoughts, we can have any thought. It's what words are we speaking? Because that becomes a reality. So
I felt a bit stupid at first, more so because I was sat on my own. It's just with what I was saying. But now, I think I've been doing it about 4 or 5 days now. But now it's just naturally every day. And it just makes me feel better about everything and about myself and what's going on. So it does work. It really does work.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. And just, as a general rule, in relationships, and then where you need boundaries, okay, if that person's not accepting me and my truth, or just being myself, it's you want to just break free. You want to just know that whatever you're letting go of, you're able to move more in the direction of people that are more like-minded, that will love you for who you truly are. It's easy for people to stay stuck because it's upheaval, can be a little bit daunting, but if we don't do it, then there's greater forces that tend to do it for us. And that's when people have a breakdown, or they think it's a tragedy, but it's like, what if this is an upgrade? What if this is a blessing in disguise? Because if your intuition's not gonna, or you're not feeling inspired to create that change yourself, sometimes external forces that are coming from universal forces will come in and help us. And then it's not till later that a person realizes it. They might look back and say, I'm so glad that happened. At first, I wasn't in agreement to it because there might be an attachment. But if there is an attachment, it better, it's important that it's healthy, and that, anyway, you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah. No, and like I say, it really does work. So I would just wish I was doing it sooner, and rather than like less than a week ago. But it's just something I started doing, because I was just thinking about it, and I just thought, I'm going to try it and see if it does actually work. And it does. So I'm going to keep at it, and hopefully everyone else will start doing it as well, and get everyone up on that higher frequency.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Or, write it down or paint it, just get it out. I mean, just doing shadow work isn't about facing demons. It's about finding our just gifts and abilities that might have been repressed or misunderstood. And it's time to just really dig in and pull that out, give it an expression, and the things you'd like to see manifest. And we have an incredible biological vessel that we're here to learn and understand about. We can be advanced humans. That's why they're so threatened by us. And that's why they want to keep us small. They're really threatened that we're going to transcend, allowing them to feed on us, because we have boundaries and we're whole in ourselves and we feel inner balance. Because that's why they have the patriarchal agenda, all sorts of things. Doesn't matter how the imbalance is or what the programming is, as long as we're out of balance, because that enables them to feed on us better. So when we work on this, they want to throw us up, trip us up, weaponize people against each other, keep this social media sort of targeting alive. And the minute we can step back for that, we're going to change everything. They won't have access to us or our creativity. So we won't be enabling what we don't want to see. So a lot of people are strong and they're not falling for it, but hopefully everybody will just snap out of it, because really hard to witness, and seeing the younger generations really be impacted because they're just very vulnerable, even though, so getting them out of these indoctrination camps and schools is really important as best as you can. And as long as they're in it, just find out what's going on, get curious, attend the auditorium, attend the classrooms, listen to what your child is saying. I don't know. It's a difficult one for many, but maybe their soul needs to experience this complete loss in order to find itself again, to have a breakthrough eventually.
To regain.
Yeah, we often create life events that completely snap us out of something, and hopefully everybody will get that sooner rather than later. And that's what I love about astrology, because, everybody at some point creates that event. They're like, God, I've only been awake for like a year, but it took this for me to snap out of it. So hopefully we'll see that more. And a lot of advanced kids that will stand up and say, you know what, I'm not going to fall for this. I mean, I was a black sheep kind of rebel in my classrooms. I'm sure you were. I don't know,
mine was more in my family, but same sort of thing.
Yeah, that too. My family too. Across the board. Like,
I literally moved away from everyone. So they're all in the north of England. I moved down south, and
oh wow, cool. Well, it's amazing you're doing this show.
One of the things. No, thank you. And you too.
Well, thanks for having me. And
anytime. You're more than welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And so I'm going to let you go because we're coming up to the hour mark now, and I know you've got to shoot off. You've got a few things that you need to sort out. But when is it again? You coming over to the UK?
I'll going from the 1st to the 20th of August. So end of August and beginning of September, it'd be great to reconnect, or just anytime, just reach out. Yeah,
will do.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. I'll definitely stay in touch. So, right. Well, if I don't speak to you before, which I probably will, have a great time when you do come over here. And I will see you in about 3-4 months.
Okay, sounds awesome. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Andy. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Okay.
No, thanks for coming on and sharing everything you know. Been a pleasure.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
All right, then. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye. Right. Hello. Sorry that was short and sweet, but she's got a few things that are pretty important that she needs to do. So as you heard, she is coming back on end of August, beginning of September. Hopefully it's going to be a lot longer. And that's it, really. For those that don't know, even though I've been posting it here, there, and everywhere, my new website is up and running. It's pretty much 99% complete. There's just a couple of little things that I need to put on it, and it is literally andydecodes.com. That's it. The links are there for YouTube, links there for podcasts, some pictures that I've put up from the encounters that I've had. There's going to be plenty more going on there. I've just not had the time to do it. And that's it on that one. Podcasts are coming on. There's more and more people listening, so that's picking up. Since I've been on the new podcast server, I've only been on it 2 weeks. That's nearly the same amount as when I was on the other one that had been on for over a month, so it's getting there. Right, so that's it on that. Friday, I'm going to be joined by George Mitrovic, Albert Rosales, myself, and there is a special, well, it could be special. I have a guest co-host coming on who does a paranormal. I don't know if I told you who he was. He does a paranormal podcast called Let's Get Freaky. His name's Tommy Cullen. So he's going to be co-hosting with me. And in a few weeks, I think I mentioned it when I did the live stream investigation on Saturday at the gym. Preston Dennett is going to come on when I interview Agnost for part 2. So he's going to be co-hosting with me on that. So I'll let you all go. I've got stuff to do. Thank you again for everyone coming on. Sorry it was short, but she said she is definitely coming back on soon. Hopefully get her on a few more times and do part 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's it. Not got anything else to add. We'll see you on Friday at the normal time of 8 o'clock. Thank you for everyone who's listening on the podcast. Please do visit the website. Have a great 2 days, and I will see you on Friday. So take care and goodbye.